There you go. Alvin Lee and Mylon LeFevre, 1973, On the Road to Freedom. Now, I'm guessing that quite a lot of you might not have heard of this album. I'm also guessing that quite a lot of you will have heard of Alvin Lee, 10 years after and all that sort of stuff. Maybe not so many from the Mylon LeFevre camp. Now, Mylon LeFevre, just to fill everybody in, was an American sort of gospel singer, if you like, but with a rocky undertones, overtones, whatever. And he and his band had supported 10 years after on a tour of America in 1972, I think, and Alvin Lee and Mylon LeFevre got chatting and became sort of mates and decided to make a record together. What exactly happened was Alvin Lee was getting a bit fed up with the old 10 years after stuff. I won't go into huge detail about it because I'm sure either most of you know it already or it can be for a later video. And he decided he wanted to go and do something just a little bit different. So rather than being allowed to sort of leave 10 years after or break it up, and a little bit of a break, to do this. Now, the first thing they had to do, Mylon LeFevre came over from America to England, and they had to build a studio first. I mean, there's not like there's any recording studios around, is there? What are you going to do if you're going to make a record? Oh, no, we better build a recording studio. So that's what they did in a barn in Alvin Lee's house in Oxfordshire somewhere. They recorded this. They made this recording studio specifically to make this album, which is something that could probably only happen in 1972 or 73, couldn't it? Pure classic sort of rock and roll stuff. Build a studio to make an album. And not only that, but when we do make the album, we're going to have a load of mates come round for a bit of a party and have a bit of a jam. And who are we going to have on it? Well, there's all sorts of people on here. Jim Capaldi's on it, Steve Winwood's on it, Boz Burrell's on it. Apparently Mick Jagger's on it, although his name's not mentioned. George Harrison is on it, but he's not called George Harrison, he's called Harry Georgeson. All sorts of things like that going on there. So there's some great people on this album, and it's really, really good. It's nothing like 10 years after, which is probably what the problem was at the time for 10 years after fans, because they didn't like it at all. They thought, this is no good. He's gone all country on us. He's gone country and western, bluegrass, folk, and all that sort of stuff. Because there is a bit of all that in there. There's a bit of the old gospel stuff in there as well. There's a bit of everything. It's what it looks like on the front cover. You can see two denim-clad blokes in 1973 walking down a country lane. The music is in your head already, isn't it? And that is exactly what it's like. It's lovely melodies. It's great acoustic rhythms. There's a little bit of oomph here and there, and it's just fun all the way through. Now, this album came out in 1973, so 50 years old this year. I bought it in either late 1980 or very early 1981. Now, how can you be so sure of that? I can hear you saying to me. Well, it was around that time that the deluded me decided he was going to become a rock star. And it was going to be Plant, Gillan, Coverdale, Rogers, me. That's the way it was going to be. I don't know why the rest of the world didn't see it that way, but it didn't. At that point, I decided, well, I need to start writing songs, don't I? So, what am I going to do? I start writing songs. So, I don't play anything. I'm too lazy to learn how to play the guitar because I picked one up and I didn't sound like Richie Blackmore or Paul Kossoff in a fortnight, so I gave up. I've got a keyboard and I didn't sound like John Lord in a fortnight, so I gave up. You're getting the idea why I'm the sort of bloke who's standing here doing this now, rather than being interviewed by somebody like me doing this now. Yeah. Anyway, there we go. So, I read an interview. Now, I can't remember who it was with. I think I read it. I may have seen it on the TV. Now, you've got to remember in those days there was no internet. So, it was either something that I read in one of the music papers, or it was somebody on one of those chat shows on the TV. Now, if it wasn't a rock person. It would have been somebody who wrote songs in a more mainstream type thing, or sort of an old-fashioned sort of songwriter. But what they said was, when they want to write a lyric, and they haven't necessarily got a melody, they steal it from somebody else's song. They'll find a song that they like, and they'll just write new words to it. That will then start them off, and then eventually it'll change and the melody will be slightly different and it'll become a song on its own. So that's what I started to do. So that's how I know that I bought this in late 1980, early 1981, because a song I wrote in 1981, I nicked the melody off a track off this. I'm not going to tell you which one it is or what song it is, because you've probably never heard it. Anyway, but that's just the point. That's how I know it works. So I've heard since that quite a lot of people actually did that and possibly still do. So if you're a youngster who for some reason has stumbled across this old man channel and wants to start writing songs but is struggling with melodies, just take your favourite songs and write new words to them, and then a new melody will come as you change it, as you change lines out and put different bits in and add extra bits together. I think the one that I did off this, I just nicked the chorus melody and put it with something else. Whatever. But anyway, that's a different sort of tale to tell, if you like. But anyway, back to this album. It's brilliant. It really is worth getting on. Now, it's been given a release on CD. And this is, again, where two people are going to start tearing their hair out and going, oh, God, what's he on about? I think an album like this, recorded in 1973, with all the sort of, we just record what we like with him. Not nobody breathing down the neck saying, you must do this, you must have a single, you must have this, you must have that, you must make a video. It sounds better when you take a record out of a sleeve and put it on the thing than it does if you put a CD. And I've got the CD version because it had a bonus track on it. But I don't ever play it. I still dig this out and put this out because it's like it. I've come to this conclusion over the last few weeks while I've been away from the camera that old music sounds better on vinyl, new music sounds better on CD. I bought a few new albums recently and not been overly impressed with A, the cost because they're so expensive, and B, the packaging has been pretty shoddy, and the pressing I don't think has sounded that good. I've listened to it on the CD and it sounded much better. We go back to the old albums from the 70s, they just sound much better on LP than they do on CD. Some clever clogs will no doubt tell me it's all to do with how they recorded digital this and analog that and whatever. But I think my thing for 2024 is going to be that I'm only buying old second-hand vinyl from now on, and anything new I'm going to get on CD. I can see the vinyl community going up the wall, but it's just something I've been thinking about, because a lot of the vinyl stuff is you don't get as much on it for a start off. It's more expensive, and quite often the quality control isn't that good. I'm sorry I have to say that with one or two things that I've picked up over the year. But anyway, we're drifting away from this. It's what it is. It's a 1973 solo album. Well, a bloke who'd been in a sort of hard rocking sort of band. A lot of people forget about 10 years after. They don't get mentioned in the same sort of breath as your big rock bands of the early 70s. But they were. They're one that sort of fall under the radar of a lot of people. But if you dig those 10 years albums out, those early 10 years after albums, they're as heavy as anything. Of your Deep Purples and your Sabbaths and your Zeppelins and your anything like that. They are. Alvin Lee was up there with the top guitar players. But anybody who picked this up in 73, expecting it to be like 10 years after, would have had a heck of a shock. It's a sunny afternoon album. It's a late night album. It's nice. It's got some lovely melodies on it. It really is good. I really don't want to sit and try and pick it apart track for track, except for to say it's worth tracking down. It's readily available on CD. It's not very expensive. I'm sure you can get it on all your Spotify, Spotty things or whatever they're called that you do your downloads on to have a listen to. Well worth listening to it. So Sad, the George Harrison song, probably my favourite on the album. Carry Your Load, the first track on side 2, is another particular highlight. There isn't anything really bad in it. There's one or two that get a bit rocky in places, but mostly it's your country rock, bit of English folk, bit of American bluegrass, a little bit of gospel stuff, bit of bluesy in there. Mostly, I would say, towards the more acoustic, folky, countrified sound than anything else. But it's a lovely album. You can pick the album, but I don't think that's dear. I don't think you can get that reasonably priced. Nice gatefold sleeve with the lyrics inside and a couple of drawings. And when I bought this in late 1980 or early 1981, cost me the princely sum, I've still got the label on, of £1.75. There you go, £1.75p. But has served me well for 40 years and will hopefully serve me well for quite a few more years to come yet. So there it is, that's my selection today